Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. There are so many questions about living. There are so many questions about how things work. This particular time, we're talking about the future. This is indeed the fourth installment about the future. And the question is, does God control your future? Now, most of you would say, I don't think so. But there's an entire other group who will say, yes, we believe it. There is another group who has weighed in, is very, very, I would say, intellectual, who said that life has to be a simulation and that we are all in a simulation, and therefore there has to be some kind of control over it. So there are many answers that are given to you about the future. Does God control the future? How do you find God? How do you define God? This is another question, and we have told you any way you want to. It is the creative source, that which created you, that which created the love, the joy that is on this planet, the duality that is on this planet. All of these things were given for you to have, and here it comes, free choice. So the Creator gives you free choice, and then for you to say, well, then the Creator controls the future, that would not work. It's an oxymoron. It's a conflicting idea within itself. And yet, there are reasons why it is asked. Let me give you one of them. Kryon has said there is no tampering with the future. That God lets humanity alone to find their own center, to find their own enlightenment, evolvement or devolvement, and that it's hands off. And yet, there have been channels that say that inventions all over the planet are given to humanity when they are needed and not before. Is that controlling the future, or is that giving you the tools when you're ready and you create the future? Now, that perhaps is an esoteric question. How real is this idea? For those who love to study the history of technology, you find something exceptional. You find aberrations in the evolvement of technology. Things perhaps that should have been exceptionally obvious are never developed. Like, for instance, the Chinese having kites 4,000 years before the Wright brothers flew and said, wow, I bet we can apply that to a machine. Here's something you should know about the Wright brothers, and I have said this before. The first ones to have powered flight over a certain distance made world history. And they are the ones seen to have invented powered flight. However, they only beat the French by 2 weeks. It was happening all over the world at the same time, seemingly, and not a necessarily step-by-step driven evolvement that you would expect. It burst on the scene all at once, as though some angelic form had come down and say, well, here's your ideas now, you're ready for it, and gave it to humanity, and they all started developing it. That has happened over and over. You know, electricity, that's not hard. That's not hard to have figured out. It took a very long time to find it, and even today, there are those who are controversial, actually, who gave it to you? Because it happened all over the world. You have your favorite inventor. And whether it was Thomas Edison or somebody else, magnetics, all of these things. How about radio? That's really controversial. That burst on the scene at the same time. It's so close to who invented it and who was there to make it work and show it that even today there's arguments between two men and specifically who brought it to you. So what I am doing now is simply giving you some information. What if it were true? That invention is given to you when you need it. It goes further than that, and I have given you this information before. There is coming to you the next great invention. Now, there are many on the way of this, and what I mean by that, precursors of this, but the big one is coming. And it will then be the father, you might say, of many more. The revelation of being able to sense, see, work with, and invent with multidimensionality. You are a multidimensional creature. You sit where you are listening to this in 4 dimensions. Height, width, breadth, and time. What do all of those have in common? They're all variables. And the scientist Einstein showed you finally that time is not what you thought. It's variable. It then becomes a dimension. So here you sit in these 4. And yet physicists are telling you, well, there's a lot more of them. There may be 20, 30, maybe more. As defined by what dimensions are, physicists say there are a lot of them. Physicists study quantum things, multidimensional things outside of 4 dimensions. There are even quantum biologists. What does that tell you? What if your cellular structure is starting to be seen as multidimensional? These are the studies of the day. What if you could see other dimensions? Well, dear ones, that is not as strange as it sounds. But I'll tell you, what's coming with that is such an important revelation that it's not been given to you yet because you would weaponize it. I have given you this over and over to think about. What if there are things on the horizon waiting to be given to you that would create electricity and that would create power without pollution, would create the lack of hunger anywhere, would grow crops, would give you clean water? What if that was coming? What is stopping it? Why isn't it here yet? Because every single one of those has something to do with either magnetics or another kind of multidimensional force, if you want to call it, attribute, if you want to call it, that, ready, has always been there. Has always been there. I want you to watch for things. When new technologies start to be worked with and discovered that are truly new, not an evolution of what you have, not a new system on a computer or a faster memory. I'm talking about something absolutely new. When you start to see that, there'll be an attribute in there to look for. And here's the attribute. It was always there. That whoever discovered it and is now working on it found that in the ancients or found that in some inventor's workbook. Who you know. This is what I'm telling you. This planet of yours sits in front of you with everything you ever need without polluting it. Everything you ever need to feed the masses, those who are still coming on this earth. The billions to arrive won't be hungry. There are things here they haven't yet been given. Because in order for you to see multidimensional things, there will be giant revelations of who you are. Imagine for just a moment that there's something coming to allow you to see multidimensionality, and you say, that is so cool, that is so good. What would happen if you turned that instrument and looked at a human? You'd start to see things that would go against everything you were taught about who you are and why you're here. Pieces and parts of your very soul would start to show. Do you see how that might be an issue without an evolved consciousness on this planet that was ready for that kind of an allowance? Dear ones, I am in love with all of you, and I am telling you a truth. Does God create the future? No, you do. But there are enhancements, nudges along the way for you to use. That's because Spirit is in love with humanity. I am as well. Bless you all for listening. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon. Come a little closer. Peace, relaxation, lessening anxiety, joy. All of these are the circle of 12. These are the instructions. They always have been. Not just for you to have a better life, but to live longer, to chase away disease. All of these things. And there are so many who say, is it that simple? It would seem simple, but how many of you really truly have difficulty coming to that beautiful place of serenity where there truly are no worries, where you can look at all around you and say, this is good. I am at peace with my soul. Dear ones, the circle of 12 is a place where we've asked you to be every Wednesday for 3 years. And that is so you get used to certain kinds of things. And one of them is the ability to go beyond that which you believe is real, or you've been told is real. It's not that difficult for many spiritual people to fully understand that there is more than what you see. There are many who are also what I'll call just coming on board and starting to understand what reality is. It's variable. There's what you do every day, and then there's more. Tonight's Circle of 12 has you again going across the bridge with me. And we're going to meet somebody. You'll see in just a moment. Dear ones, this particular exercise of going across the bridge and moving to a reality which is just as real as it is for you sitting right now, wherever you're sitting, it's just as real. But it becomes a reality that is in a different, let's say, place in your mind. Instead of you feeling where you're sitting with all of the senses that you came in with on this planet, you're starting to use the senses that you developed and evolved with as a light worker, as an old soul. The ability to create a reality that is literally beyond that where you are sitting is the earmark of an old soul. For a very long time, in many cultures, there are those who would sit and what you might call meditate. They would argue they weren't meditating. They were visiting another reality of themselves. And they had practiced that for so long that they'd want to be there so often and go there so much of the time that you called them the meditators. There are so many who have discovered this. And whether they were monks from years ago or those in India, they all know what I'm talking about. It is so real And it creates that which is another realm to be in. A realm of peace. A realm of joy. This is not that new. The Circle of 12 experience. But for the first time, you don't have to have the spiritual training for years to be able to do this. It is a guaranteed tool of a light worker to be able to switch gears and step out of 4 dimensions into a multidimensional world that is also yours, and it's your soul. The bridge is before us, as it always is, and I invite you to come with me in that bridge, to go from that which is your reality here, wherever you are, to your reality somewhere else, in your soul, where we're going. The known to the unknown. But by now, that unknown is becoming very familiar to many of you. So if this is your first time, and it is for many, I invite you to come with me now. Take my hand. Going across this bridge can be such an experience for so many. If you haven't figured it out yet, this is transformational. Moving between dimensions has always been something you've been able to do. But doing it together, doing it on purpose, doing it through intent, that's new. So the human being is asked to take my hand and go with me across this bridge to the very edge of infinity, your soul. It isn't really a place at all. It's an energy that has been created for you by the creative source, by that which is spirit, God, if you wish, as a place where you sit and enjoy the family of God. Known by God are you, created by God are you. Dear ones, you are magnificent, and you're here. Wow. Across the bridge into this area that is so known. Some have said, this is where the music is. This is where I can relax. This is where the joy is. It is. You're right. I'd say the goal is to take all of that which is at the soul level and bring it back across the bridge when you come back to 4D. Dear ones, there is a door that shows. It often does. And the door is a beckoning to go into an area of energy that is specific. If there is no door, you simply stay where you are and things happen. But the door says, come in. That's your culture. Are there actually doorways in your soul? No. This is for you. This is for you. To be comfortable and recognize there's something there for you. Go through the door. And you do. Imagine yourself just slipping easily through that door. And once again, there's a chair. All alone in a magnificent area that is really big. No one is in a theater, no one is sitting around you, and that is the cue, the clue that yet again today you are being administered to. In the second week of this month of the new year, in the second week, we introduced you to an angel. It was an angel that had been in that which you call the green mist. And we brought that angel forward, and many of you said, we like this one. And it fits so well into the circle of 12 that we've brought this angel back again to continue for you one of the most needed things of all. Here is an angel that specifically integrates that which is the glory and magnificence of the Creator, of God, to your soul and therefore to your countenance as a human being. What I just told you, this is the angel who sees God and moves through you in order for you to have that very same experience of feeling the God in you. There's your joy. There's your experience. Shamuel is the angel's name. Shamuel. There have been those who said the energy of this angel is actually a future energy that will be experienced in a greater form later. There have been those who said this is the angel of global peace. That's what you're headed for eventually. We have told you that so many times. It may not look like it, but it also doesn't look like much when they build the bones of a house, does it? You all know that there will be a house there someday, but it's pretty ugly for a while. You're building something amazing. You're solving issues and problems. You're working with an old energy and showing that it doesn't belong on the earth anymore. Billions are looking at what is going on this planet now and shuddering and saying, this does not belong to us anymore. Let's build ourselves a new house called Earth. You have the tools to do that, light worker, Shamuel. Let Shamuel come into your presence and move into you. Others may hold your hands and look into your eyes. This one wants to sit with you. If you're sitting in the chair, Shamuel is sitting with you in your body in the chair. I want you to feel this. Often it is felt with chills that you say, I know this is happening. This is more real than I thought. There are others who would get intellectual and say, well, which dimension is this happening? Is it me sitting at home where I'm sitting, or is it in my soul level? Which one is it? And I say, oh, how linear of you. It's in all dimensions, because you are multidimensional. It is also where you're sitting. Feel those chills, the beauty of this angel in you. Here's the idea. So what happens here in your soul happens everywhere, no matter where you are, no matter what dimension you're in. That's the principle. I want you to stay and feel this as long as you wish, because when you get up out of that chair, you have crossed the bridge, you've come back to where you are, and all of that which Shamuel gave you came with you, because it's inside. This is real. It is possible. It's doable. And those of you in trouble are going to feel so much better if you accept and allow this to be your reality today. There is so much hope for this planet. Shamuel, angel of global peace, the one who sees God, has visited you this day. It won't be the last time. I am Kryon, in love with humanity. And so it is.